Hi, everyone. Yeah, I got hit by the curse of the presenter. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'm Emmanuele. I'm going to talk to you about some more governance. I briefly toyed with the idea of calling governance will continue until morale improves, but it was a little bit too on the nose, to be honest. It's been a year. It's been a year. Last year I gave a presentation about technical governance in GNOME at GUADEC. It was, I was pretty sad because I thought, oh, I'm going to give a presentation that is going to be absolutely contentious and everyone is going to hate me, or like torches and pitchforks and stuff like that. And in reality, what happened was that everyone kind of agreed. That shocked me to my very core. I gave the presentation where I outlined the mostly lack of technical governance in the project. And it gave a few ideas on how to address this problem using other similarly sized, similarly like aged free and open source software projects. And after that, I published the notes, which hit all the regular places. And then I opened a topic on Discourse where I hope to get more feedback. I got like useful feedback after the presentation, but then I expected like more feedback. As I was saying, I was shocked because the presentation was meant to be slightly contentious so that people would be like open to telling me how wrong I was, because that's how stuff works. And nobody did. That's not how stuff should go. So in reality, what I got was like good stuff, like valuable feedback from people. Like everyone agreed that technical governance had to be improved in the project. A lot of people like agreed that teams and special interest groups were a good solution to that. Share responsibility was a good thing. And more importantly, I actually got some level of commitment from people, which was absolutely unheard of. The idea of proposing a technical governance so that nobody would be responsible for taking the project on their shoulders and dragging it, then like dying because a single person had to do that work, would have been completely on point for GNOME. Luckily, it didn't happen. Sadly, I also got less good stuff. Like, there was a slight hyperfixation with my rant about maintainers. People decided to just stop at that particular point. I agree. My theatrics and my kind of framing of the issue didn't help, and I know, but it was mostly for comedic effect, and people took it like seriously, like I was going to set up guillotines and like start executing maintainers in a public place, which was, yeah. The other less good stuff was that we have very few volunteers, we have very few people working on this, which means that people were looking at other people to unblock the issue, and they were waiting for somebody to come along and tell them what to do. Again, extremely on point for GNOME, but honestly, I thought we were going to like get over this pretty quickly. Instead, the point is that, yeah, a lot of people want a new technical governance for the project, but they really don't know where to start, and they honestly want somebody else to tell them what to do. Figures. Imagine if we had a governance that allowed people to take matters into their own hands and make stuff happen. Yeah, we'd have to jump back with our DeLorean to 25 years ago and set up a governance system for the project. Stop people in the past. Like, go back and tell, and give the sports almanac to Miguel and Federico and see what happens. So at this point, it's time to do something about it. Well, at this point, like 12 months ago was the point of doing something about it, but the next best day is tomorrow. So let's start with the least controversial bit of the proposal, like setting up teams, special interest groups. So thanks to Alan over there, we have rules now of what is a team and what was an active team or was an inactive team. Inside the handbook, we have an entire chapter about that, which is great because it allows us to define not just this is an active team, it does things, how do you define that, but also gives us the ability to say, oh, this team is inactive and probably needs to be retired, if not revived. So it gives us a little bit of leeway on figuring out what are the things that are needed to remove a time sink that is, let's try to revive this team that has not got any contributors in like 5 years, which is one of the many problems that we have, to be honest. It also defines the places where people should collaborate. Like we have team spaces under GitLab. We have an entire team category under Discourse. We have a namespace inside Matrix. Matrix is its own like kind of worm, so I'm not going to touch that now. I'm going to touch it later on. But yeah, the GNOME infrastructure has a ton of like room for growing teams and things like that, which is great. So after the GTK Hackfest in February, well, before that, but during, I started like collecting people like Pokemon and basically just trying to jumpstart the idea of a platform team. So anybody that works on the GNOME SDK, like any platform library, gets to be on the platform team. The overall idea is not just people reviewing patches, reviewing merge requests, like triaging bugs, but mainly collaborating in a shared place. This is kind of the point of a team. The point of a team is not going around and doing like triaging together or reviewing each other's code. That is also a thing, but the main point of a team is to have a shared place to talk to each other so that stuff happens and everyone is on the same page about it. There is no chance of somebody going in their own direction and 6 months after that they come out and say, oh, we found a way to like replace GTK with another toolkit. That would be insanity because it breaks the social contract. This stuff needs to be discussed beforehand before going around and doing your stuff. Otherwise, you're just playing, and yeah, that's fine, but it's not how you build a platform. So this is why the most important thing about the platform team is not just the code, the shared code being reviewed and being committed, but mainly is the monthly planning session that we do on the last Friday of the month, where we have a call, an hour, with an agenda, we go through it, and basically we talk about stuff. We have a problem, we have a design issue, and we talk about it. And the other thing that we do when instead we have a complex topic, we start up a design meeting, where basically we do a deep dive of like time-boxed an hour of a deep dive on stuff. Like 2 months ago, we had a deep dive on scrolling widgets. The existing API is bad. It's also a legacy from GTK2. We need a new way of doing things. And the problem, like space is so big that you need to have a bunch of people like talking to each other to identify the issue before even starting to go off in a branch and doing some code. So the goal of the platform team is whenever somebody is contributing to the core library, a new feature, a new setting, a new widget, a new API, it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter how big, you come to the platform team and you talk to us. If you're inside already at the platform team, you know what to do. If you're outside because you're a new contributor or you are interested in something for your application, you come to the platform team. You talk to us during one of the planning meetings, or you open an issue and you do things. You want to discuss introducing API, deprecating the old API, come to us. Talk to us, basically. And how you do it is you use a label on GitLab. It's very simple, Steam platform. And that label gets used to identify items to be put on the planning team agenda, on the planning agenda for the platform team, so that we can discuss it during our planning teams. We can talk to you directly on GitLab. We can talk to you on Discord. At some point, we will have a matrix room for it. The matrix situation is kind of iffy because of the new moderation policy servers things. Once it gets more stable, we will be able to create new rooms under the team's namespace, so people will be able to join that instead of having to join GTK or newcomers or, I don't know, GNOME hackers. Having a dedicated room is going to be easier to narrow the discussion, like the focus of the discussion. There's a platform team project webpage that has everything, all the details on how to add an item to the agenda, when we do the team calls, the minutes of the previous calls. That's perfectly fine. And yeah, you can join the planning meeting. It's open. It's not like a private meeting. The room is open to everybody. And the next step for the platform team are recording the team ownership in the dope file so that we don't get like single people there in the dope file for 10 years that haven't committed to the project at all. So that the entire team gets ownership of the entire platform. And yeah, more membership, more people get invited, mainly because if we remove personal responsibility for a specific project, we share the responsibility, it's easier to invite more people in. So we can get like also support roles, like keeping the agenda, take notes, so that if I have an accident and I disappear for the rest of your lives, the team goes on and doesn't require me to like exist for the end of time, until the end of time, which I don't plan to be honest with you. Similar to a platform team, the bindings team is kind of important because GNOME is not just a desktop platform written in C. That would be kind of bad. It's consumed by a lot of programming languages, through a lot of programming languages. And we have a lot of bindings. And a lot of them are not even, a lot of them are not even hosted on GNOME infrastructure. Like GTK-RS is on GitHub, GearCore is on the C# bindings are on GitHub as well, Java GI is on Codeberg, I think. Peel is on personal namespace on GitLab. So it's very heterogeneous. And just like the platform team, people are working on libraries or even applications with plugins, and they have doubts about their API, how is it consumed in other languages. So you need to be able to ask people that know this platform how this works. And the bindings team is meant to be doing exactly that. But also sharing information, because a lot of bindings have similar issues and they've been solved in similar ways, but they cannot be abstracted away into the GeoObject introspection library because it's like language specific. But the solutions may be language agnostic. So if you're writing a binding, that is a great place to ask questions. Same thing, open a label, come on discourse. The web space for the bindings team is going to be up soon. I have a template for that, so it's fine. Sadly, the meetings have been spotty, but they will come. And then we have other teams in the work. The documentation team either needs reviving or needs to be put out to pasture. There hasn't been anything going on in the documentation team except for when I revived the help.gnome.org website, which requires forking half of the documentation infrastructure anyway, which is hosted on GitHub. Other problem. The accessibility team that Sophie proposed should go because it's important. The accessibility team up until now was basically the ATSPI maintainer and the Orca maintainer, and they are really hard to get a hold to. So having a bigger team should help. And yeah, if you have a team, if you want to propose a team, go ahead. Of course, if you propose a team, you have to be aware of the challenges, like maintaining momentum so that once the team is started, it can continue on its own, you have to deal with things like components and people coming from a disparate set of circumstances, like across the, not just across time zones and but also infrastructure and things like that. You have to be aware of the secretarial duties of keeping an agenda, keeping the minutes, keeping the meeting on time and also on target, because it's super easy to get a meeting completely derailed after 10 minutes and go into a weird, hyper-focused discussion that basically nobody cares about except one person or two. So if you want to build your own team, you have to follow the rules on the handbook. You create a space, come to me if you want a template, and then the important thing is all regular meetings and publish their agenda so that people are aware of, people can jump in, help you out. And use the GNOME infrastructure because it's there for a reason. So I have very few time left, so what's left? So like Hatsune Miku said, we do these things not because they're easy, but because we thought they were going to be easy. The steering committee is a big thing. It's like we are building the thing. We're building the substrate so that the steering committee can be built upon without dying after 6 months. There are very open questions like who gets to be on the steering committee and for how long, how do we avoid groupthink so that we have a very small subset of people steering the project in a direction that the rest of the community doesn't care about. Whether or not it's a steering committee for decision making, like the Python Rust model, or arbitration, like the Debian Technical Committee. So arbitrate technical issues between teams. Ideally, both is good, but it requires two very different mindsets. So it needs to be able to cope with this large remit. The other bit was the RFC process. In all my communications for the past year, I've been extremely clear that I was not going to go into that because there is nothing that trips a bunch of nerds like rule lawyering. And also, there's nothing like bureaucracy that trips up nerds, because nerds really hate bureaucracy, except the one they come up with themselves. So they love that, but if somebody else comes up with, So ideally, the simplest, like least bureaucratic way is to have a template, you fork the repo, edit a file, open a merge request, discuss, merge, done. You want a consistency for all the teams, because you don't want to have like a bunch of processes, one for each team. And maybe you want a domain separation between like project and team RFCs. So team-specific changes or changes that affect multiple teams and a larger area, surface area of the project. And you want somebody that deals with the enforcement and tracking of the items. Shout out to Sophie, who's a GNOME fellow now, and she, definitely, because she is going to be dealing with the RFC process. I'm going to help out, but she is going to be the one. So great. And yeah, to sum up, there are new teams being established, which is great. We have a platform and bindings team. We are working on a steering committee and the RFC process. There's a lot of challenges ahead, and we need your help, because otherwise this thing is going to die in 6 months, and we are going to go back until the GNOME project is basically dead. So just to close on a positive note. So if you have any questions, talk to the cat. And I want to thank my employer for allowing me to come here to talk to you beautiful people. So yeah, if you have questions, well, what the hell? Yep.
Any questions from the public?
Questions. Come on.
So how do you avoid the problem where, say that you started a team and one person is always like responsible for holding meetings and keeping notes and stuff, but then that person, I don't know, disappears or just goes on vacation and nobody else has the experience to hold the meeting? And how do you avoid this problem?
So part of the idea of the template for the website is that it also contains the instructions on how to hold the meeting, the instructions on the minutes, on the agenda. So it can be templated. A lot of this stuff is not like rocket surgery. It's very, very simple stuff. I discovered that when I was the secretary for the board of directors of the foundation. It really needs mainly the will for somebody to show up. Technically speaking, you don't need much more than that. One thing that we are still discussing in the platform team is to record the meeting sessions so that it's easier to run like a transcription service or like getting a summary out of the end. Personally, I would never use AI to do this stuff, but yeah. It's possible to do that, like under very strict, like human overview, because AI tends to hallucinate entire section. So if at some point during a team, if you read the minutes that somebody volunteered to rewrite the entirety of the layout system in GTK, it's either going to be Sergey like talking about it, or it's going to be an hallucination from an LLM. But the instructions for the process are easy to set up, and people only need to follow them. You don't need a single person. That would be very bad otherwise. Other questions? If we have time.
If I think I maintain a platform library,
yep.
Should I get into the platform team?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
It's very simple. Yeah, if you are a core contributor of a platform library, like you do the releases, for instance, or you are like the most prolific maintainer, or even not, it's fine. Join the platform team, join the meetings, propose things for the agenda. Actually, the more things that are not GTK related happen on the agenda, or the more discussion about it, the better, because otherwise we're going to talk about GTK all the time. And we talk about GTK all the time already. And I would like to have more discussions on other places of the platform.
Thank you very
Great.
much, Emmanuele.
Thank you.
So I think we are right on time. And yeah, another applause.